Just ahead on American Black Journal, we'll get the latest on plans for a techno museum here in Detroit. Plus, two women DJs talk about the city's popular electronic music scene, and we'll have a conversation about black music with Detroit techno pioneer Carl Craig. You don't want to miss today's show. American Black Journal starts right now.
Across our Masco family of companies, our goal is to deliver better living possibilities and make positive changes in the neighborhoods where we live, work, and do business. Masco, a Michigan company since 1929. Support also provided by the Cynthia and Elsa Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit PBS.
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit PBS. Through our giving, we are committed to meeting the needs of the communities we serve statewide to help ensure a bright and thriving future for all. Learn more at dtefoundation.com.
Also brought to you by Nissan Foundation and viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm your host, Stephen Henderson. It's almost time for the annual Movement Festival at Detroit's Hart Plaza. More than 115 electronic music artists are going to take over the stage on Memorial Day weekend. Meanwhile, plans are underway for the creation of a museum that will preserve and celebrate Detroit's really important legacy as the birthplace of techno and hip-hop culture. It's called the Museum of Detroit Electronic Music. Joining me now is the museum's founder and executive director, Adriel Thornton. Welcome back to American Black Journal.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so we are getting ready for Movement. We were talking before about just how this is not an event like other events in the city where it happens in a place and you got to go to that place to be part of it. Movement now takes over the city and almost the region in terms of where people are and what they're doing and who's hosting what and what you can do. I mean, it's 4 or 5 days now of just fun.
Yeah, I mean, it really starts the week of.
Yeah.
Movement is the Memorial Day weekend. That Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. But it is definitely, starting way before that, with the events and showcases and parties, from basically Monday through, from that Monday, the week before.
The next Monday, right?
Yeah, you can't you can't book a place.
Yeah.
There's programming all over the city. So it is actually really quite incredible.
Yeah. When you think about the origins of movement, of course, I think you have to think about the origins of techno. They kind of moved together through our history here. But in 2026, I'm always curious, sort of what people think about what that means now, and maybe how it's different than it was when you and I were young men. This was starting. It does feel different in many ways.
Yeah, I think that one of the things is, when you really look back down at the sort of origins of it, I was a kid, and my older cousins and brother and stuff were really that group of young black high school kids who were really the ones who really adopted this first.
Yeah.
And who were listening to it. I remember hearing like I said, my other older cousins listening to this what was called progressive at the time.
Right.
And also on the radio, you had the Electrified Mojo, and then later on the Wizard, aka Jeff Mills, who were starting to play this stuff, but also on the scene,
right,
on WGPR, and then later the New Dance Show. But then that was really inner city black music.
Yes.
And that's what you heard backyard barbecues or someone's basement party, you know, and again, it wasn't really necessarily defined as techno at that point, but it was just some get down music, right? And but you really think about it, it's really odd in a sense that like this music that was, you know, inspired by like Kraftwerk and George Clinton and the whole Parliament Funkadelic thing and Prince was really what shouldn't have worked here really did. You know, I'm actually happen to be friends with Ralph Hooter from Kraftwerk, and he actually told me, it's like, we did not set out to make dance music. They were just playing with synthesizers and drum machines.
Noise.
They were just making noise, and they were like shocked when, you know, Mojo started playing it. And then there was this city in the US who was like just all about it and like dancing to it and making it happen. And that was Detroit. You know, so it was a kind of an anomaly, but thank God, right?
And those roots, because now it's so much bigger, right? It's everywhere. It literally is all over the world. But those roots are important, and that's what you're trying to, I think, really celebrate and commemorate in the idea of this museum, and that's really important to us here.
Exactly. So, you know, the idea that this musical genre that was created here by African American teenagers has impacted the world in ways that we still are trying to process. You go other places in the world, and Detroit is literally a genre of Detroit techno is a genre of music. You go in a record store, there's a Detroit techno section, and we are now, you know, 40 years later, recognizing that we need to capture stories, we need to highlight folks, we need to make sure that we as a city are protecting that legacy while paying, you know, homage to what's happening now, and then preparing for the future, right? So the Museum of Detroit Electronic Music, aka Modem, seeks to do all of that, right? We want to make sure that we honor and preserve the history. There's a lot of people still in this city who don't necessarily know that Detroit was created here,
we did
that techno was created here, and that the branches of those roots have seeped through all electronic music. So, you know, our impact on hip hop even, you know, when you talk about a producer like Jay Dilla, one of his electronic music songs, one of his techno songs called Plastic Dreams, was like huge around the world, right? Like one of the biggest songs ever, right? But he was also one of the most revered hip hop producers on the planet. His mentor and the person who taught him what to do was Amp Fittler, who also crossed those lines, right? So that's why, for me, it was important to say that it was electronic music, so that we could cover all of that.
We can get everything.
We could get everything. And so it really, really is important, I think, to have a physical institution, a physical place where DPS students can come and see pictures and learn history and say, oh my God, those people look like me. You know,
and this happened where I'm growing up.
And it happened, this guy was from my neighborhood. And so I could potentially do that too. You know, certainly folks like, you know, Juan Atkins, Rick Davis, you know, when they created Cybertron, were not doing it to have a legacy 40 years later. You know, they were just being
you never think about that. You're just thinking about, hey, this sounds interesting.
Yes. And it was a creative outlet,
I can make this noise go with this other noise.
Exactly.
Now I got a beat. And,
exactly.
I mean, it's an incredible sort of genre in terms of the creative force behind it, right?
100%. You know, these cats were quite a few were, at least at the beginning, were actually really trained musicians. You know, playing bass or guitar or drums. And when this new technology came out, this was like, oh wait, let's play around with this.
Mhm.
They still had the musical know-how,
Yeah.
but really wanted to try to interpret it a little differently. So they really weren't experimenting
Yeah.
and creating something that really they didn't have a basis for, right? This wasn't like they wanted to sound like
Right.
somebody else.
Right.
They were creating something that was really different and new, but that happened to be something that people, especially in their generation, resonated,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It resonated with them.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, again, when you think about, not a happy accident, I don't want to say it was an accident, but when you really think about like what really happened back then, it was super creative.
Yes.
It was underground, and it was something that, again, I think spoke to the African American youth in the city of Detroit
Yeah.
in a way that other stuff was not.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're still looking for a place for the museum, but we've got about a minute left. Talk about timeline.
Yeah, so starting in June, we're probably going to start our front-facing fundraising campaign online, crowdsource it. We are actively looking for sponsors and foundational support.
Yeah.
Actually, hoping that the city will support it in ways, but we are looking for a new location. We were part of a project that got canceled,
Yeah. Right.
or paused,
Yeah.
and so we are looking for perhaps a place that is more central, that maybe makes a bit more sense,
Yeah.
right?
Should maybe be with the other museums in town.
Yeah,
Makes
that's
sense to
not
me.
that's not a bad idea.
Figure that out. Right. Yeah, Adrian, it's always good to catch up with you. Thanks for being here.
Likewise, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. DJ Minx and DJ Holographic are two pioneering women on the Detroit techno scene. Both are scheduled to appear at this year's Movement Festival. Contributor Michael Walker from Bridge Detroit had a chance to talk with both women about their musical influences and their personal coming out stories.
Detroit is known as the birthplace of techno. Adding to that legacy, DJ Minx, a legend in the city's techno scene, and DJ Holographic, who's learning from those who came before her. How did the two of you meet?
Ariel and I met through, of course, music. And being two Black women from Detroit, playing this thing called techno and house music.
Yeah.
And me being mentorish. Once I know about a young lady doing some music, I've got to meet them. So I went to a party where she was just to meet her specifically.
I love that.
Holographic looks up to Minx, and the two have formed a bond through music.
I'm super honored to get to know her more and more every day. And I can't remember the first time I met you, but I know how many times I've heard of you. I had so many people say, like, if you don't know Minx, you don't know nothing yet. And I was like, you're right. And it just uplifted me to see you because I knew I'm in the right place at the right time.
Both of you performed at Movement this year. You've been there several times. What makes each time so special?
I would say each time is so special because I've been going since I graduated high school, and I've been going every summer, every year. At Hart Plaza and being the heart of the city of Detroit, to hear music that African Americans made, house music, techno, it's gratifying. But this past year, oh my God, it was like the best one. I got to play a really fun, phenomenal set. Then I got to see some of my favorite artists like Terrence Parker. And I got re-inspired and getting to dance and express myself and seeing my other family. Because that's what it is. Movement is like another family.
Absolutely. Movement is like a family reunion every year. And a lot of people around the world actually know that.
Minx has been a fixture at the Movement Festival for more than 20 years.
I have a stage every year, so I do a House Your Life stage. And we bring in artists that a lot of them haven't played Movement or been there before. But the elevating of these, not only artists, period, but LGBTQ community that come in, they play, and they dance with us, it's like building another family on top of the one we already have.
What were some of the music that you grew up listening to?
I would Motown, Michael Jackson,
Diana Ross, honey.
Diana Ross,
Yes, the Jacksons, Marvin Gaye.
Aretha Franklin.
Yeah.
a lot of Michael Jackson for me. At 18, I started listening to Prince, and then the radio. It's the radio that really raised me for music here in Detroit.
Electrifying Mojo.
How has that shaped the music you're making today?
First of all, with us talking about the Electrifying Mojo, he was on WGPR, and he introduced me to a lot of the music that I still play today because this music is timeless as well. He played a lot of Prince. He played a lot of tracks that no one else played on different stations, like the B-52s and Visage, Frequency 7 stuff. He played a lot of new wave. And this is stuff you hear right now that's being produced by house music DJs using the same samples and we can still play that music today.
How did clubs like the Music Institute help you realize that you want to be a DJ?
Going to the Music Institute and seeing those people dance like they cared about nothing in the world, and them it just being such a togetherness at this place, that was a feeling that I wanted to deliver. I saw the DJ at the Music Institute and he would be getting down. I was like, oh, I think I can be a DJ. But realistically, it was my mentor that pushed me to say, well, if you want to be a DJ, be a DJ. The first thing I thought was, nope, I'm a woman. I can't do that. So then I started hearing about the women that were DJing. Like there was Stacey and there was Kay Hand, rest her soul, and Serena Tyler. And I just, started practicing and realizing that it is something that I as well could do.
I worked at a nightclub called Necto when I was 20, and I used to be in the Nectarine Ballroom where Jeff Mills was the wizard long ago. He had a residency there, and I would hear the DJs perform there every night and hear how he would get people to come to the dance floor, but also let them go to chat and mingle with other people. So I can see there was an art to it, and I just want to be a part of that.
DJ Minx and DJ Holographic share their coming out journeys as queer artists as well. In 2021, Minx came out publicly on Instagram, saying in a post, "So here I am, Minx, DJ, producer, mama, partner, lesbian, friend."
I've got friends that thought it was a bad idea for me to come out. I've had a husband, I have daughters, and I look like the, homebody that people wanted to see out there DJing. But just constantly hearing that it wasn't a good idea to let people know that, I live the way I live. So I had to get over that. Finally, and just let it go. When I actually did come out, the phone calls that I got, at that moment, the post went up, I sat, and my managers were all like, we're going to be up. But people that read the post were calling me, holy smokes, I cannot believe it. I love you so much. Thank you for doing this. One person said, you just helped me. I just came out. Or you let it be known that it can be done. And an entire world opened up.
Even with my family, I came out in a weird way of being bi, and people are also, even the community, in our community, are not the nicest to bis, but it was still that moment of when I told my family this is where it got kind of weird, because I expressed it to my mother. It was a whole nother topic that we were having, and then it came up slightly to this topic of being, okay, this is when I'm going to be vulnerable with you. We're talking about something else where I'm going to be vulnerable with you and honest here about me liking this girl at school. But I don't know if she fully understood or was willing to make the next move. Because I don't know, it was a book on the conversation, but she was listening. And then of course she told her mom, which is my grandmother. And my grandmother just said, which is really made me very happy, that she said as long as you meet someone that respects you. And that was really nice, because that means I got reinforcement there. I played in majority only queer places in my first 5 years of DJing, so there was not a conversation of coming out. I'm I'm here. I'm here. I'm here and I'm queer.
One of the headliners at this year's Movement Festival is Detroit techno pioneer Carl Craig. Every year during Black History Month, He hosts a video series on Instagram titled All Black Vinyl. Contributor Bryce Huffman of Bridge Detroit talked with Craig about the importance of celebrating Black music history.
Why did you start your All Black Vinyl series, and what does that medium for music mean to you personally?
During COVID, it was just hell.
Yeah.
And, everybody was doing streaming, but not really streaming with meaning. Of course, George Floyd and all the things that were going on at that time had such a big impact. But I really felt that there needed to be something that I could do that had meaning. And for Black History Month, it made sense to do a project that was about the music that is good music, but that's music that's done by whether it's people from Detroit or people from outside of Detroit that would celebrate Black History Month. So All Black Vinyl just seemed to be an obvious thing for me. And it was a lot of fun to do it, instead of it being something where I would sit there and mix records for a day or something. I liked the concept of doing one a day. And I got so many people from not only inside of the United States, but outside of the United States that were looking forward to seeing the next day that I would do a post. There's Miles up there. And
What about the eyes?
You've been collecting vinyl for years now. How big is your collection, and is there one record that stands out as very important to you on a personal level?
I can always say like, oh yeah, we got all this records in stock and stuff. Yeah, I got 50,000 records, 100,000 records. No, it's not like that. It's something that I don't pay attention to collecting for the sake of collecting records. I buy it because I love the music and I want the music. So I don't have a Fela Kuti record or a number of Fela Kuti records because that was the trend. I have them because I just like the music, The music that stands out really the most to me, Marcus Belgrave, Vibes from the Tribe from Phil Randlin, the Detroit stuff.
Motown. And from Detroit.
When you go through records that you haven't listened to in a while, is there an appreciation for the recording process, the artistry that goes into making the albums that you kind of rediscover?
Those records that were being done in the 50s and the 60s and even the 70s, the process of making them and the care of making them was incredible, and it's so much different than when you're using a laptop, MPCs sound great and stuff, but to have the guys in the studio going straight to tape, mixing console, left, right, center, boom, you're there.
Now, jazz, techno, hip-hop, R&B, these are all genres that have been covered on the show, and all genres that are really important to Black history, especially music history. Tell me, was there a genre that you think sounds best to you when it's recorded on vinyl?
There was a whole disco sucks movement that happened in what was it, 1979 in Chicago. It was a baseball game between Detroit and Chicago. Was it the White Sox versus the Tigers, where they blew up all those pieces of vinyl, and disco might have sucked because of all the novelty that happened with it, but a lot of those records are recorded so well. They sound incredible. There's records from Barry White that just sound enormous on the sound system. Moody Man, he's been playing the Isley Brothers at his gigs mixed with Thundercat. And the Isley Brothers record sounds monstrous on the sound system.
As a lifelong student of Black history, is there any record or group of records that you think newcomers to this history just have to listen to fully appreciate the strides that have been made.
You got to go to the roots. With black music, you have to listen to Billie Holiday. You know, you have to hear Strange Fruit. You have to hear the political records, the Nina Simone stuff. You have to know that music in the same way that you have to know Elvin Jones's records, or Count Basie, or Duke Ellington, or Miles Davis, or going into the blues of Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf. You have to go all the way down through it. You have to understand why shiny suits were worn on stage. You have to understand the Chitlin circuit. You have to understand why James Brown got on because he was impersonating Little Richard. You know, it's like the knowledge and the history is really important.
That's right. All Black Vinyl. Once again, enjoy yourselves.
That's going to do it for us this week. You can find out more about our guests at AmericanBlackJournal.org, and you can connect with us anytime on social media. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Across our Masco family of companies, our goal is to deliver better living possibilities and make positive changes in the neighborhoods where we live, work, and do business. Masco, a Michigan company since 1929.
Support also provided by the Cynthia and Elsa Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit PBS.
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit PBS. Through our giving, we are committed to meeting the needs of the communities we serve statewide to help ensure a bright and thriving future for all. Learn more at dtefoundation.com.
Also brought to you by Nissan Foundation and viewers like you. Thank you.